Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar. We are so excited here at the Square in a Square work area because it is the beginning of quilt season. Quilt season is what we call the beginning of the weather changing, and it's time to get back to our sewing machines and get started with what we love so much, which is piecing quilts and quilting the quilts. Looking at the fabric, deciding on the colors, choosing them for certain quilts. This is what we all love to do. And during quilt season, we really highlight the education of how to make your dreams come true with the quilt that you want to make. Because here at Square in a Square, with the way that we teach Square in a Square, the science of patchwork and overcutting, every quilt can be a quilt that you can achieve. And my motto, or what I always say, is that you can become the piecer that you've always dreamed of and that you've wanted to be. So we have a lot to do today. We have a lot to do in these 6 weeks as we build up to Quilt Club Week. Now, on Tuesdays, we're going to be doing live webinars, and our regular time will be at 11 o'clock for the rest of quilt season. We are kind of at the end of summer, beginning of fall, so we still have some summer schedules we're dealing with and trying to get started with our fall schedules. So today we had to go at 10 o'clock because of different time restraints we have today. And then yesterday, our Get Started class for Premium Club was at a different time than what it normally is because of that same thing. So normal times for Premium Club and for teaching our Tuesday webinars will be 11 o'clock from here on out. So hopefully that helps everyone. Now you can also go to our website, squareinasquare.com, and at our website we have a calendar. You can just scroll down to the bottom and you can click on the different, you can see what we're doing, what days we're doing it, what time we're doing it, and then you can either click on a link or get a link in those areas also to come in and watch what we're doing. Now, something that I just love is that because of the technology that we have today and doing online teaching, is that even if you don't catch us live at our certain time, you can go back in and watch it, and you can watch it over again and again and again. Now, last week with our first webinar for quilt season, which was on Tuesday, we had a lot of, if you're on the email list, then you get an email, and there's downloads with those emails, and it had the different kits, the new quilts, information about fabric, if you wanted a kit, how much the kits were, all the information. And for this webinar today on Tuesday, we added a few more of those downloads and PDFs for you. Now, if you ever have any questions with anything, we are here to help. So if you need help with technology and being able to find all of the online stuff and the PDFs, just email Steve. Just go to squareinasquare.com or Steve at, let's see, he's going to put it up there for you. Or you can do Jody at squareinasquare.com or Steve at squareinasquare.com. Steve handles all the technology. He'll even make a little video for you to help teach you. I saw him in his office yesterday doing several videos to send to different people to help them learn how to navigate. I am not a computer person. I don't get on a regular computer or laptop. I do everything on my phone and my iPad. So I understand when different people don't have just normal, what I call normal computer information or knowledge. That's okay. Steve is great at helping me. He understands we don't all love it and do it like he does, and he's very happy to help you with that. And we make a perfect team because he'll help you with the technology and I'll help you with the quilting part. So never be afraid to ask for help. We also have a quilt hotline. That number is 817-713-2879. And what we both love in helping everybody is that we can make a little video and send it to you, because a video, a picture really is worth 1,000 words. You can send me what you're doing so I know exactly what you want, and then I can send you your help and I can fine tune it to exactly what you need and do so much more teaching with that quick little video than just words or even just a snapshot. So we love to do that. Don't ever be afraid to text or email to get help. That's what we do.
Tell them to scroll up on the top of the chat and there's a link for today's download.
Okay, so if you'll scroll up to the top of the chat where we're at right now, there'll be a link for those PDFs, for those downloads.
Yep.
Okay, great. So he's great to just jump right in and help whenever we have a question, or to jump right into the conversation. I've got a little bit of a frog. So hopefully that wasn't too bad for you. Okay, so before we get started on our teaching, I want to, and as people are gathering, I want to tell you about a couple of different things. So in those same PDFs and downloads, we have a Square and Square Quilt Club page that you can download, and then you can just slip it right in the front of your notebook, because with all of the teachings that we're doing on these Tuesdays working up to Quilt Club week, which is the last week of September, you'll want to be able to make notes and download your PDFs and have them all together in a notebook. And then those of you that are Premium Club, you always want a notebook for those semester classes. Now, for those of you that are new to everything, I'm going to talk about Premium Club and Quilt Club Week here in a few minutes. So make sure you have notebooks to put your notes, to put your downloads and all that. Stay organized, so that you know where to go back and find what you're looking for, because you may see something in today's video that isn't what you're doing in your sewing room today or this week, but next week or even later on this fall, you may be wanting to do that, and you're like, oh, I remember Jody talking about that. If you go back to your notebook, then you can find out where it is and what we did and so on. So really very, very helpful. Now also, this is what we call our overview book. And the overview book is when you go in and you learn how to make the different options of the Square and a Square system. Every option is a different triangle unit. We have 44 options now at this time, and we're going to be teaching 5 of those today in our class. And these are the basic beginnings of the square and of the diamond shape. And when you realize what you can do with these simple sewings and cuttings and the beautiful quilts that you can put together with them with speed and accuracy, it's just amazing. And you really do stack the deck in your favor and build your quilting game to a much higher level. And it's easy to do. You don't have to be a master quilter to produce beautiful quilts. When you have the right skills and knowledge and practice what we teach, it's very easy for it to happen with everybody's sewing machine and be right at their fingertips. So go in, if you're waiting for Quilt Club Week, go in and watch the option overviews, even make a few of them if you don't have time to make all of them, because what I always tell my group is that when you get these shapes, these options, the option 1 square and a square, option 3 flying geese, option 4 half square triangles, doing this book helps embed it into that gray matter of our brain. And once those shapes are in our head, then it's easy for when we look at a quilt for our brain to associate those shapes with what's happening in the quilt. And once you know that you can make them with the Square and Square options, then every quilt becomes achievable. Last year in Quilt Club Week, Sherry Esposito, one of my teachers, and I did a class and a lecture on the Storm at Sea quilt. And we're going to show you a little bit of that today. There's actually 3 parts to the Storm at Sea, and I'm going to show you 2 today. But that other one is just a spin-off of it, and so it's really very easy to do. But that's always been, in the 40 years that I've been quilting, it was always at the top of the heap. Everybody always wanted to make the Storm at Sea, but they were always scared off by it because of those long, thin diamond shapes that are in it. People had paper piecing, people had templates you could buy, but it still didn't help with that sewing of all of those shapes. You maybe got your cutting down better, but it still didn't help with that. And the Square and a Square system helps remove the human element. The reason why we can offer such speed and accuracy that you've never known before is because the human does the work of all the cutting and the sewing and the pressing over here. And then you take the knowledge and the tool of the Square and a Square and put it on your work and trim it up, and you can trim it up perfect. You can help erase or remove or improve on the human element of the cutting, sewing, and pressing. So it's like doing all of your work in a less perfect manner because we're human, but then you come over here and you work the magic of the Square and a Square, and it improves. It improves. It's just amazing. I would not be quilting all of these years without the Square and a Square. I actually came up with the Square and a Square system to improve on my own triangle hassle. I loved quilts. I was determined. I was going to master it. And when I realized that the human element of the cutting, sewing, and pressing, you know, how could I improve on that after the human did the work? The light bulb just went off, and I was like, oh my goodness. Everybody around me, I was involved in lots of different quilt groups, and back in the early times, the late 70s and early 80s, when quilting was booming. And they were like, Jody, your work has improved so much, and you are making so many quilts. What are you doing? What have you learned? And so I just started showing friends and my guild, and then just started branching out, and then now I've been all over the world in the last 40 years teaching the system. I'm still amazed at how people are like, oh, I just discovered you, or I just found you, or all of that. When I always say I've been to every dogfight in the past 40 years teaching and showing people how to improve on their work and get that speed and accuracy. So go in and make your notebook, learn the system. I've got tons of reviews. Not going to read them all today, but I'm going to read you some. And there's two consensus that happens in these reviews when people write me and email me and text me. One of them is, I wished I'd started a long time ago, and you have rocked my world and changed my quilting life. And why didn't I join Quilt Club Week or Premium Club sooner? When I first found out about it, why didn't I do it? Another one that we hear all the time is that I've learned more in this time that I've been with you than I have in the past 30 years that I have been quilting and in the quilt world. And I love to hear that, and I love that we're able to help improve on people's quilt life, because that's really important. It's really important to me, and I know it's important to you. So before we get in on the teaching, I want to show you a couple of things that are on sale. A lot of this is limited. We started it. We'll keep adding items for these 6 weeks, but a lot of these there's only one or limited of, so when they're gone, they're gone. And then October the 1st, we will start our new fabric sale. We haven't shown anybody any of it yet. We will start it October 1st. That will be after Quilt Club Week. During Quilt Club Week, we will show the Quilt Club members and the Premium Club members the fabric, and they will be able to start ordering early. And of course, our new fabric, we always have a promotion and a sale price on it, so that's always the best time to get it. So be saving up and thinking about that. And then we'll have some other sales as we go through this 6 weeks. So let's look down here on the screen and let's look at a couple of these things. And I'm going to go through them quickly because I want to get to the teaching and the showing of quilts, and I know you do too. Now also, anytime you have any questions, put that in on the text line. And Mr. Steve does a really good job of staying up with all of that. He can help you right there with some of them, and then others of them he'll tell me, and I'll help you with that. Okay, so one of our sales that we have, and we have limited quantities on all of it, and this is part of our patriotic. So this one is called what we call the Eagle Vine. You see the red, the blue, the white. This one is the American flag. It's a tone on tone. Can kind of see them on there, so it makes a good solid with just a little bit of print. We have the red, the blue, and the green in this sale package, and then this one is the Eagle flag. Let me see if I have one that's... This is great for just everything, but those of you that like to fussy cut or do a border, these are great. And of course, America, we're celebrating America's birthday. It's going to be 250 years old in 2026. So it says 1776, 2026, and then 250 here. So great to help celebrate America's birthday coming up in about 18 months. And then also for all the Quilts of Valor, Wounded Warriors, these are great quilts. And the ones that have gone to them that I have known about, the recipients of the quilts have just been so excited to have this patriotic and American fabric. Now we also have the blue check, a red check, and a solid blue tattered and torn. So you're going to get 3, 6, 9, 12 pieces of fabric. Each one is a 2-yard piece. This normally sells at $12.50. It breaks down to about $8.23 a yard. You order 2-yard pieces in this bundle, just like this, 12 of them. So that's 24 yards. And I'm pretty sure the sale price is $199. It's over $300 regular. So this is an awesome, awesome price. And when these are gone, then it's gone. So take advantage of these at this awesome, awesome price. 2-yard pieces. There's a lot you can do with that quantity. Add some of your backgrounds and you'll be fine. Now we also have some of our threads. We've got a special on these. These are the bigger spools. This little box comes with these. You can always order separately, but we have them in a group price. So you can see these, the main 3 basic neons. And then we have this wonderful little pack that you can always store your threads in. And I think that's 12 of those, of the main colors. And this goes great with our Paradise fabric. And then you have 2 boxes here. I think there's 24 colors. Comes in this cute little box. And I'm using these for my applique on these smaller ones. So super good price on these. Take advantage of that. And only while supply lasts. Now we also have some, these are the Longaberger baskets. They're the collector ones, but these are great. I love to use these to put my scissors and thread if I'm doing binding, applique, whatever in here. This one has a little lid if you like it. And then we have some bigger ones that are great to store your bigger products in. Some of these, like this, I like to put all of my needles and thread, and even my applique piece goes down in there, and then I can carry it with me to the car or anywhere that I need to go and have all of my supplies that I need right there. So limited supply on these. Check those out on the website. We've got some really good prices on them. We have only 1 set of these on sale. You can get both of the Farmer's Wife books for 1 price, and there's only 1 of those. Then as we cut and ship fabric, we always have end of bolts, and so I always package them together. It'll tell you on there there's 88 total inches, so that's over 2 yards. And this one, for example, is 20 bucks. So go in and look around. We just kind of, only maybe 2, 3, 4 times a year do we have these little end of bolt packs, but go check those out and see what we have. Now also we have some fabrics that we're really getting low on, and so anyone that didn't get them or needs more, we want you to know that they're just about gone. Now this one is our flag tone on tone. It is regular price. It's very limited. This one is our beige check. Supplies are very low. It's regular price. This one is regular price, but our supply is very, very low on it. You can see it in this quilt, and then you'll see it in a couple other quilts that we have. And our supply is very, very low on our black, tattered and torn. We're going to go back in. Our next fabric that we show you, it'll be, at least late spring, summer.
After the October one.
Yeah, it's not the October one, but the next group that we're getting together is all basics. We're going to go back in with our tattered and torns, our checks, and some of the other designs, and just make some basics, some new basic fabrics and colors and supplies. Now this one's very limited. Also, there might be some blue and black check on there that's very limited. And when I say very limited, like 2 or 3 pieces here and there scattered through. So check out this one and the blue. Now this one is very limited, but it is on a sale price. I think we've got like backing pieces, like 6, 7 yards, something like that, for a really good price. And there's only probably about 3 or 4 or 5 of those. So check that out and there might be some smaller ones on there, like this is like a 1 yard piece. There's a few of that kind of stuff. So check those out. This one's on sale. And these are ones that are just about all gone. So if you didn't get any of those, or you need a little bit more, get those while we have supplies. Okay, any questions from anyone before we get started?
No, don't know of anyone.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what Quilt Club Week is and what Premium Club is. And as we go through these quilts that I'm going to show you up here, I will tell you where we taught them or where we're going to be teaching them. So some of them are the PDF downloads and some of them are not. So you'll just have to kind of take notes and pay attention to what you've got. Now this one here I put up here, it is a pineapple one, and then the one down here on the table that you saw. We're going to be teaching, Sherry is going to be teaching the pineapple quilt in our Quilt Club week this year, and we've got several different samples. Now, one thing that I love about Quilt Club week is that we may take a quilt to teach it, but before we teach it, we do a little lecture on it, showing you different color combos, pointing out different settings, and just really giving you a lot of ideas besides just the thing that we're going to be teaching you. So Quilt Club Week is a week in September, and we teach that it's the last week of September, so it's that week of like the 23rd, whatever that week is in there. So we'll start on Sunday, we'll teach live classes, Monday live classes, Tuesday live classes, then Wednesday through Sunday, it goes to the people who have joined Quilt Club Week, and we have multiple classes, lectures, seminars, all of that going on in there. And we have live classes, we have recorded classes, and Quilt Club Week is based off of the excitement and the fun and the motivation and the knowledge and the skills that you would get if you go to a quilt show. So during the pandemic of 2020, of course, no quilt shows, nobody could go. We realized by the end of July that this was lasting longer than 2 weeks and that everything was shutting down. And I said to Steve, I said, how can we bring that online to them? And so we brainstormed, and very quickly, Steve worked all night for weeks to even get the program built in the computer so that we could add the classes and teach. So what happens when you go to a quilt show? You have fun with friends, you get new ideas, you walk through the vendors, you look at the new things that they have, the new fabrics that they have, you get motivated and excited. You may see some little demos in booths of just simple little things. You may take a little class where you learn kind of a crafty sewing thing, like maybe a carrier for a organizer box to go to a retreat, or just all kinds of fun little projects like that that also are great for gifts, Pella cases and Pella shams, and just all types of what I call craft type sewing. Then you'll also get your classes every day for quilts, for completed quilts, and then you'll get lectures and seminars where we take a quilt or something that is in the fabric world, and we do a lecture on it. Some of those are online, recorded online, and then others of those will be live during that week. Now you can go to the website, and at the top there's that little scrolling banner, and you can join Quilt Club Week and get more written information about it. Now also, we've already had people in the last week join Quilt Club Week, go in and start watching the past year. So if you can join right now, and you can go in and start watching 2020, 2021, 22, 23, and then our 5th one. I can't believe we've been doing it for 5 seasons now, but our 5th one will be that last full week of September. And so you can be watching all of that and having a good time. There's always a lot of humor in it. We have special teachers that we bring on, and Kay and Kathy are kind of some of our regulars, and they're just really, really funny. My sister sent me a short little video just yesterday or the day before, and it shows these 3 ladies that look like quilters, and they're going down a little kiddie slipper slide into like a kiddie blow-up pool. They all have a little drink of choice in their hand, and they are just having a ball in that little swim pool. One falls off the side and the water starts coming out, and I texted it to Kay and Kathy, and I said, this is our next adventure. So they're always good to add a laugh and make you smile and chuckle. In fact, one email that we got from past years, a lady said, I was laughing so hard during Quilt Club Week that my husband came in to see what I was laughing at because he wanted to join in on the fun. So I know that you'll enjoy it, you'll learn, you'll get motivated, you'll laugh, you'll just have a great time. And the cool thing with all of this being online is that you can go back in and watch it over and over again, and you have I think a year to go back in and watch all of these.
Yeah, you have optional renewal.
And you have optional renewal. But we've had people who've joined last week, gone in and been watching the past stuff, and they've already emailed Steve and said, hey, I want to upgrade to Premium Club, I want it all. So now let's talk about Premium Club. Premium Club, all year, we have what we call fall semester. We did our get ready video yesterday for it, and it will start right after Labor Day, and we'll go all the way to the holiday time of Thanksgiving. We'll have 9 classes this year in our fall semester, and our class is going to be on settings, and then a couple of these quilts up here were ones that we taught in semesters. We have a spring semester, so it's set up kind of like school. You have a fall semester, you have a spring semester, and we highlight a certain topic or a certain quilt during that whole semester. We just keep building each class on each other. We've done borders, we've done how to look at a quilt like a grid, we've done pattern adapting, just I think there's 17 semesters or something like that in there that you can watch. So, for example, our class last January, we started in January, usually that second week, and go somewhere to end of April or to Mother's Day, 1 or 2 classes in May. And so we can have anywhere from 10 to 15 classes in our spring semester, depending on how many we need and what we're teaching and so on. So last year, every Monday, they got their class. These are the downloads they had. There were over 35 blocks in 6-inch and 12-inch that they got, and there was over 30 hours of teaching just in our semester last spring that started in January and went to Mother's Day. So much teaching, so much information, and I want you to be able to join in on it. And so it works out to be like $2 a class or something like that, or $2 an hour or something. It's really very, very good. So go in and join Quilt Club Week, go in and join Premium Club, and get started honing your skills and improving on your work. Now, in Quilt Club Week, we do other things besides just square and a square. So we talked about some of the little crafting projects, and Kathy is a wonderful machine quilter, and she quilts just on her tabletop regular domestic sewing machine, and she always has machine quilting on your home machine in every Quilt Club week. So some of these we go through. If there's one that she's done, I'll point that out to you. So we always have classes every day on machine quilting. We have lectures every day. We have full quilts every day. We have fun projects every day, pre-recorded with our teachers, but my stuff is generally live. I do have one class each day that I'll show you the quilt on that we have already pre-recorded. The ones that I really want to go into depth on, we do a lot of pre-recording on so that we can really get every detail in there and edit it and get it exactly the way we want. Okay? So do we have some questions from anyone?
Not yet.
Okay, so I'll read just a couple of reviews and we'll look at some quilts. She said, Jody, this was by far the best Quilt Club week. I don't know how you did it. Many hours, patience, knowledge, no sleep, planning, loving everyone, and teaching them, loving everyone and teaching them. I have a full notebook of ideas, and teaching ability is awesome. It's a gift that you have, and I love your videos. Thank you to you and Steve. Did I read this one last time, or have I just read it over and over again? This one says, so when I found Square and a Square just before Quilt Club week of 2020, I jumped in with both feet. I made a sample book, one option at a time, but I didn't really concentrate on the family info. Last week when watching the live, so that's the video I'm talking about of making your notebook, she said we did it last year in depth, and those classes are loaded in there. So if you're already in Quilt Club week, you can find that option book and get it. And if you're not, you can go on YouTube and look for it and find the option overview book. But she said last week when I was watching the classes and you were teaching them in the family of options, she said it finally clicked and the light bulb went off. Thank you, Jody and Steve, for the work you do on producing the system and the classes. My husband says I'm addicted to Jody's videos. I have never in my life seen anyone so committed to customer service and so creative to invent something that has totally changed the industry. And as over the last couple of years of doing Premium Club and Quilt Club Week, I have even made new options and new ideas of how to keep using your same tool in the same square and a square system, and just expanding on what you can do with it. And this one says, thank you so much for another smooth shipment of your gorgeous fabric. I honestly will not buy fabric from any other online shop. You're the only one who offers consistent, beautiful, quality fabric, and the packaging and prompt shipping cannot be compared to any others. So don't be afraid to purchase our fabric, whether you're getting the sales stuff we talked about today, or you're going to wait for the new fabric with the promotion coming October 1. 2 weeks ago, I was with a group of quilters that I've been with for 40 years, and the host home that we were staying in, she had two big, beautiful quilts. She had gone to her stash, pulled out fabric that was, I'm going to say, older fabric, and beautiful job with the piecing and the quilting, and she was showing me where the fabrics ran in her quilt. And when we looked in detail at the quilt, the fabric, honing what fabric company it came from, both of us very knowledgeable, been in the quilt world for 40 years. We knew who it was and where it came from and all that, and just the bleeding of that fabric. And I told her, I said, you know, I've gotten to where I just about don't go back in my stash and use any of the older fabrics, because you just don't have the same quality with them that you do nowadays. So for Premium Club, this fall semester, my samples I've been digging into my stash and using up a lot of scraps. And there was one piece of fabric that I knew the company, and I was a little bit leery of it. I knew that I had used it before in other projects, but before I put it in my sample, I took it to the sink. I took a little piece of it. I did pretty warm water, not hot, but warmer than the 82 degrees. And put it in that bowl and swished it around in that water to see if any of the red would come out of it before I used that older piece of fabric in my work. Now that's another thing. You can go, we have a whole section in Premium Club that talks about textiles, about the making of the fabric, about how to know if your fabric is going to give you a complication or not. So there are hundreds of hours in semester teaching. I really can't think of anything that anybody would want that's not already in there. And lots of times when people say, hey Jody, this would be a great idea for a video, I'm like, we've already done it. Here it is. Go to so-and-so, so-and-so, and you can see, you know, what we did in that video. Okay, so you also should have a download that has the classes and the days. Tuesdays, September 3rd, Tuesday, September 10th, the 17th, and then building up to Quilt Club week. And that Sunday is the 22nd. So be sure and check those out. And we've got a few more reviews that we can look at. We'll do that here in a little while. Let's get to looking at some quilts. Okay, so there's Premium Club. That is all year, fall semester, spring semester. If you're a Premium Club, Quilt Club Week automatically comes with it. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to pay extra. It's part of the Premium Club program. So any of you that have signed up for Quilt Club Week, if you want to jump over and sign on up for Premium Club, just email Steve. It's easy to do. And he'll give you the details on that if you need.
And you apply what you had already paid.
Yeah,
for
and what you
Quilt
paid
Club
for Quilt Club Week, you can use that money as part of your payment for Premium Club. Okay, any questions or anything from anyone? Everyone having fun? Learning a lot?
I think so.
Okay, all right. So this one here I have up here because it is a pineapple quilt. We are teaching the pineapple in Quilt Club Week this year. Sherry does the class for us, and we've got several different versions of colors that we'll be showing, and we did that little lecture ahead of time. And I had this one up specifically today because of the patriotic fabric and that bundle that we have on sale. So that would be a great bundle to get to make this quilt plus more. Just add some background fabric to it and you're ready to go. We also are going to have one of our Tuesdays. All of our quilts that we're going to be teaching and learning all come from this line of the patriotic fabric. So stay tuned. I don't know what Tuesday it is that we're doing it, but I got tons of quilts over here on the quilt racks that we're going to be using during that Tuesday class. So make sure, a good way to know that you're not going to miss anything, of course, is to sign up with the Facebook and the YouTube and the subscribe and the bells and all that. But you can also go to the website, squareandsquare.com, You can sign up for our email list, and then that way you'll get an email, you'll get a reminder. Any PDFs are attached to those emails. So to me, that's a great way to go so that you don't miss out on anything, because we have tons of teaching coming in the next 6 weeks that we call quilt season and the kickoff for Quilt Club week. So here's your pineapple. You don't need papers. You don't need, it's option 12 of the square and a square system. So the square and a square ruler works for all of these quilts we're making. It doesn't matter what color, it doesn't matter what size. That original ruler works for all of it. And we will go into detail with the books and the rulers and stuff on one of the classes, but today we're just going to do some options, and then we're going to look at some quilts. So let's put the camera down on the table, and while we're looking at pineapples, look at that one on the table. Same thing, just a little bit different color variation. So there's a lot of great, you know, whatever your taste, your fabric choices, it's going to look pretty no matter what you decide to do. Now, before we move along, let's go ahead and look at some of these options so that when we look at these quilts, you'll have what I call new eyes, and you'll be able to tell what we're talking about. So let's look down here at the far camera. Is that the one we have on? There we go. Okay, so these are the units that we're going to look at today that come from the diamond shape. We're going to do that here in a little while. And these here are the ones that come off of the basic square. So you can do any colors that you want for your basic square. It's a square in the middle with strips on the side. And we're going to trim these up, and you're going to get your square and a square that we call option 1. You're going to get flying geese that we call option 3. You can see different color combos. Doesn't matter what colors you do. So here's, and then here is option 4, half square triangles. So you just take your basic square, and we show you in those videos of making your book how to, I'm trying to find my ruler here, how to do these basic squares and just really produce them pretty quickly and chain piece them on the sewing machine. It's really easy to do. So today I'm going to use the mini ruler, and the mini ruler works just like the large one. It has the 90 on it, and you're going to put the tip of that 90 right into the tip or the corner of your fabric square, and these black lines are going to come down right over your seams, and you're going to trim it up, and you have 1/4 of an inch right there where you trim it. That is your seam allowance right where you need it to be. Now on
I was moving around.
some of the options you're going to trim leaving the 1/4 of an inch, and some of the options you're going to do what we call the 2-step or that close trim. If you're cutting through that area, then you do the 2-step, because we have to create a seam allowance in here where there was not one, and we have to move those points so that when you come back in and sew 1/4 and 1/4, your point is right there exactly where you need it to be. So basically there's 3 things to learn. Learn your basic square, learn how to trim leaving the 1/4 of an inch, and learn how to do what we call the 2-step. So for the option 1, we're going to trim 1/4 of an inch on all 4 corners. So I'm just going to go in there and put the 90 right in that tip. We're going to put that 90 right in the tip. The black lines go right over the seam. Your grid line goes right through that point. And in classes, we really get in depth on the placement of the rulers, how to know if your sizing is working out, just everything that you need to know. Today, we're just going to do the trimming. We have so much to show. We're just going to do the trimming and then move right on. Now, with each time as you go around, you want to look where you've already cut and make sure that your block is staying square. You want those outside edges to stay square, and you want that 1/4 of an inch off of that point. And that's the main thing that you're striving for, to keep your block square and keep that 1/4 of an inch. Now, when you look here at the pineapple, let's move over to the pineapple. Can we move over to the pineapple, please? Thank you. All right, so when you look at it, this is our square in the middle, like we had here. And we put the strips on it. We did black across and that rusty red across. I'm sorry, we did the background. So here's the first one. So there's your option 1, just like we trimmed up. That's the beginning. Then we're going to come in here and put strips on each side. They get wider and longer because this square is bigger than this square. And we trim it up the same way, leaving the 1/4 of an inch. And that's what we call an option 2, because you've just sew around it again, option 2. So when you get to the 3rd step, that's when you start getting 8 sides. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side. And then when you trim it up, this is the next side that you sew on. And it just keeps building and going out. And you use the square and a square tool for it, and it's just so easy and simple to do. Now let's look at doing that close trim and making our flying geese. So for our flying geese, we're going to trim leaving the 1/4 of an inch on 2 sides. And on the other 2 sides, we're going to trim it up sharp. And that's called the 2-step trim. Now I'm just going to take this same block and recycle it. So what I'm going to do is you put your 90 in there and you just step it over 2 lines. And you put the tip of the line right in the tip or the corner of the square. You have a grid line that comes down. You keep it square as you go. And what you're doing is you're moving that point and you're creating a seam allowance in there where you're going to cut it in half. So where you've trimmed up sharp, then just come in here and cut it in half. And there's your 2 perfect flying geese, just like that. If you wanted to make a star, which is some of our favorite stuff to do, you just put 4 together, have corner squares, a square in the middle, and there you go. This is the most simplest shape block that you can make, and they're just beautiful. Now we're going to do lots more on this flying geese in one of our classes. We've got hen houses that you can make with them, which is option 23. We've got fireflies that you can do with them. We're going to do all of these in these Tuesday classes. And we've also got ladder flying geese, so it means that they alternate. And so you have a plain square here. They climbing geese or ladder geese. And those are really easy to do. And those are classes that are coming on Tuesdays as we build up to Quilt Club Week. Now for our half square triangles, since we're cutting both directions, then what do? You 2-step all 4 corners, you cut, and you have your half square triangles. So these are the main units for the square and a square, your basic square, your option 1 where you leave the 1/4 of an inch, your flying geese where you 2-step 2 opposite, and your option 4 half square triangles where you 2-step all 4 corners. And off of these, we build all of the other options that we do. So let's look at some more of our quilts that use these options. So when you look at these quilts and you see all of these triangle units, it doesn't have to take your breath away as into that. I could never make it. I don't have the skills or the time to do it, because that's what the square and a square system does, is it gives you, it makes it speedy, it makes it fun, so you stay motivated because you're having fun and your work is moving along quickly, but it also looks great. So you really stay motivated and keep going. You don't have to stop and rip something out. The only time our members really rip anything out is when they are doing half square triangles and they get them turned the wrong way. One reason why people don't like half square triangles, not only the sewing of them, but when you get ready to start putting them in quilts, then there's actually 4 sides, so that means there's 4 sides that you could sew it to, and only one of them is right. So with every half square triangle, you have 3 opportunities to sew it into your quilt wrong. And that's one reason why we came up with the firefly method. And the firefly method is option 44. We're going to be teaching it on one of these Tuesdays, so make sure you stay tuned. But when you see multiple half square triangles going together, you don't have to look at that and be scared, not only in the sewing of them, but in the placement of them, because with the firefly method, it allows you to work with all of those at the same time, and there is no way that you can get them turned wrong. No way that you can get them turned wrong. So you really want to take the time to learn the firefly method. Now, in I think it was March or April of 23, we did a whole webinar on the firefly. And so you can go back in and watch that either there or in our club sites. And then also in a Tuesday class coming up, we're going to do some fireflies and give you some basic concepts of how to do the firefly. So quilt is called Crossroads. This is a quilt that we did last fall. So it's our fall semester of 2023. And so each Monday they got a live class that made a component of the quilt. We made them a week at a time, and then you get your whole quilt together. Now, they didn't know till close to the end what the quilt was going to look like, and they certainly didn't know that they were going to have these shapes here. And basically this was just a hollow blank part in the quilt. You have all of this action and all of the blocks that you've made, and you can see it's called Crossroads because the roads just cross and they just go out in every direction. But when they got almost to the end, about 3/4 of the way through the class, they realized that in this blank hollow space, we were going to do these firefly half square triangles in here, and it was going to be the center, and it was going to be the star, the main component of the whole quilt, of the look of the quilt. So I love that little bit of intrigue and mystery and excitement that we get with each class. Not just ho-hum, this is how you put a quilt together, but it makes it fun and exciting. And then also when you look at this quilt, you see these sawtooth borders in here. I love, love, love a sawtooth border in a quilt. In fact, I love a triangle, a flying goose, a half square triangle, anywhere in a quilt. To me, you just can't get anything more savory or sweet than that. And so lots of times people don't want to do a sawtooth border because of getting all of those triangles, half square triangle units turned. Remember I said one half square triangle has 3 sides to sew wrong. And so when you look at something like this, you're like, just take a deep breath, like, okay, can I do it? But when you learn the system and you learn the firefly, this becomes achievable for everybody. Speedy, accurate, easy, and fun. And most of all, you're going to get it finished. I always say that the square in a square is fast, fun, fabulous, and finished. And that's what we love. We love the starting of a quilt, and we love the finishing of a quilt. And so it helps us get to those parts that we love the most, the best. So this one was Premium Club. It was last fall. It was 2023. We had 9 or 10 classes on it. I just got this one quilted. Kay Roberts, who's one of our teachers in Quilt Club Week, quilted it for me. She did a beautiful, detailed job on it, and I really, really love it. Thank you so much, Kay. And people did their quilts in all different colors. And we have a Facebook page and a community page where people go in and post their pictures. And it's so fun to look at all the different colors and variations that the students do. Now, last week I showed quilts that were new quilts that we're teaching in Quilt Club Week of 2025. And a lot of those are those PDF handouts. And I told you last week that we would look at some quilts that we did in past years of Quilt Club Week. So last year we did this one here called Postage Stamp Star. And I love the motion and the movement that these diamond shapes make. So this quilt starts out just like this, diamond in the middle, strips on the side. I'm going to demo it here in just a second. And that shape, that's what you need for that storm of sea that we were talking about earlier. So you can see these long, thin points in here. This is what we're going to get out of it. And you can see how in this one, see how the points go down? And when the points go down, then it makes this 4-pointed star here. And in this, so see how they go down in your colors? And then look at this one, how it makes those long, thin shapes here. So very versatile. This is the option 18, and we're going to look at how to make that here in just a minute. But in Quilt Club Week last year, we taught this one. We taught the postage stamp star. We did very detailed teaching on it. We started out with how to cut your diamond, how to sew your strips on. We started at the very beginning of it. So that's the thing that people always are like, okay, now how do you do that? How do we cut that diamond? And so once you get the hang of cutting this diamond, and we just cut it from a strip, then you're taking off and can get this quilt done. Just it looks like a masterpiece that you're like, okay, if I'm going to make one point with these long thin, one quilt with these long thin points, you know, maybe that's the one that I want to make. But once you do it and you realize how easy it is, you can go in on the Tennessee waltz, just all of them. Yes, Storm at Sea.
On Facebook, they're asking, is the Crossroads pattern available?
The Crossroad pattern is in Premium Club, and they got it one day at a time. So it's not in a book and it's not in a pattern. The best way to get that one is to go to the web, either join Premium Club so that you can get it like that, or you can email Steve and he can do a special for you that is the pattern and the teaching. So you'll have the videos of the teaching and the pattern. But it really is best just to go in and join the club if you can, so that you can get all of it and not just that one. But any of the quilts that are in Premium Club, you can do that. If you want just that one quilt, we have a couple of ladies that go in, and every once in a while they'll do just a semester class, and you can do that if that's what you want, and if you want to just purchase it a la carte like that. Okay, now this one is Lady of the Lake, and really beautiful. Once again, we did the half square triangles, but we used the firefly method so that it makes them all very easy to do. I love the little pinwheel that is produced when the blocks go together. And this one's Lady of the Lake, and we have kits for all of these, and I think these were PDFs that we added to the download so that you can get some, you know, it's like when you go to a quilt show and you go to a booth and you see a quilt, you know, they'll have the kit and the paperwork and stuff there, and you can look at it and say, okay, this is one that I want to get, or no, maybe I want this one, or whatever you decide. So we do those PDFs so that you have more information in making your decisions about the different quilts. Maybe you just want the teaching, maybe you just want the pattern, maybe you want the kit with the fabric, all of that. We try to do it, like I said, a la carte to help everybody the best that we can. So let's look at this one over here on this one, and we have a question.
What is the benefit of the mini ruler over the original, or vice versa?
What's the benefit of the mini ruler or the original ruler? The original ruler is the ruler that we've had always and forever for 40 years now, and it does all of the different options, all of the triangle shapes from 1 to 44, whether they're very tiny or whether they're large, and it cuts that center diamond for you. The mini we made because people requested a mini. I'm like, you just need one ruler. You don't need a mini ruler to make the small shapes. So these small diamond shapes in here, you can use the original ruler on. But when you're working in a small space or environment, or you're working on a smaller project, it's more convenient. But the other thing that I love, like, let's look at the ruler down here. I was a little resistant on doing the mini ruler because I'm like, the big one does it. The original does everything. So on the mini, just to give us an added benefit, I thought, what else do I pick up on my sewing table that I use all the time and that I need? And that's what I call a corner square. So you have a 4-inch corner square on here that I use every day when I sew. I use this 4-inch corner square on so many things, and in the patterns you'll see me using this 4-inch corner square. I actually use this ruler, the mini, probably more than I do the original. But we do always, when someone says which one do I start with, we do always say start with the original. And then on the Grande, the larger one, you can go to, it's called the Grande multi-purpose ruler. And people, some people have a hard time learning how to cut those diamonds from the original ruler. And if you only do it every once in a while, then you know you have that learning curve of going back and doing it. So I wanted to make a ruler that would cut those diamond shapes in the middle, like you see here, and make it easier to do and not have as many lines on it that you can get confused with. So that was my idea of the Grande ruler. But I thought, I never want a ruler that just does one thing. It's not good for you, it's not good for me. So I was like, what else do I need to put on a ruler that people would use every day? And so I just kept thinking about different things that I do at my cutting table and adding those to the multi-purpose ruler, the Grande. You can go to the website, squareandasquare.com, and there's a video, I don't know if it's a 40-minute video, 20-minute video. Anyway, it's pretty in-depth, and it shows you all the different things of the Grande ruler and how to use it. So those are the 3 rulers that you can trim and use for your options. Then we have the 4-patch ruler and the 9-patch ruler and the shortcut binding tool. So when you think about quilting, there's just certain components. I talked yesterday or last week, these videos are all going to kind of mush together in my head, but I talked about that when you cook, you can follow a recipe, or you can just go in and look at your pantry, and if you have a well-stocked pantry, then you can just decide what you want to cook with the different ingredients that you have. And I want you to realize, as quilters, and what I try to teach is there's salt, flour, baking soda, potatoes, eggs, milk. You know, there's these basics that you have. There's 4 patches, 9 patches, square and squares, flying geese. There's these basics that you have, and you put them together to make the quilt or to make the recipe. And so once you realize that, you know, and that's all there is to it, and you have the knowledge of these different units, then you can just go in and use the charts and make them the size that you want and build these beautiful quilts, all from one concept and one idea. So that's one of the things that I try to teach. And that draws us into the grid quilt. So let's come over here and look at the grid quilt. Now this one is one that we did in Premium Club. We did it in January of 23. They used from their stash. That's another thing that I love about Quilt Club Week and Premium Club, is that you can use from your stash. You can do any color you want. You can watch and take your class anytime that you want. So it's very convenient for you. We don't box you in a corner. You have to use this fabric. You have to buy a kit. You have to, you know, we want to make it enjoyable and fun, and like I say, a la carte it for you. So in this one, we learned about everything. This is a grid quilt. It's based off of 2 inches. So everything fit into a 2-inch increment, which allows you to use, of course, any even number, 2, 6, 8, 12, 18, 24, you know, so you could make 18-inch blocks. You could make, let's say, 6 by 8-inch blocks. You could make, you know, just all of these different shapes. If it's divisible by a 2, then you can do it. Now also, when you work up on 2-inch grid blocks, of course you can have numbers that are divisible by 3. So because a 2-inch will fit into a 12 and a 3-inch will fit into a 12-inch block. So that allows you to use 3-inch increments also. So that was what we taught in this one, just really trying to get people to think outside the box, not only with the shapes that you make with Square and a Square, but with how you can build a quilt and put it together. And this one, Kay quilted for me too, and I got it the other day in the mail. And I want you, I talked, yes, in one of the webinars, now I don't remember now which ones, but we talked about this shortcut binding tool and the flange in it. I got these 2 quilts, Kay did. I did a couple of weeks ago with some that were quilted at my friend's house, and I just did a crappy job on the binding because I was in a hurry and I didn't have my tool and I didn't do a flange, and now I wasted my time because they have to come off because they're not acceptable in anybody's book. All right, so let's look at some more quilts. Now this one is one that we did last year in Quilt Club Week. So it was a 23. And we used our new Paradise fabrics on it, and this one is called the Tulip Quilt. And we still have kits, a few kits available for it. And this one is really very easy with the half square triangles. The only thing that makes this one complicated is just the color placement. And lots of times when I build a pattern, people are always saying, is it, you know, is it beginner, is it intermediate, is it advanced? And really the sewing of the quilts, there's not really anything in the sewing of the quilts that make them beginner or intermediate or advanced. To me, what ups the game is, do you have to do more thinking in the trimming of the options, Or do you have to do more thinking in the color placement? To me, it's the color placement that makes a quilt difficult, that you have to think more about. And so don't look at the quilts and think, I can't sew it, because you can sew them. You can sew all of them. We don't give you a quilt you can't sew. There's a couple of quilts that I have that I made that people have seen over the years, and they're like, we want the pattern for that. Well, I really don't want to give the pattern for it. Because it is a quilt that's difficult to sew, and I only want to give you guys things that I know you can make. I want to set you up for success. I don't want to set you up for failure. So there's a couple of those patterns that I've made. I'm the only one that's made them. I think Sherry made one of them one time. We were going to see if there was something that we could do to make it easier for you guys. And I just didn't feel confident in it. So I don't give you stuff that I don't feel confident in. So don't look at any of these quilts and think, that's really pretty, but I could never do it. I'm not going to teach it. I'm not going to spend the time writing the pattern for it if only one person can do it. I'm not going to do that, because I want you to know I can make Jody stuff. And I also want to, you know, I don't want an email that says I'm struggling with this. You know, I want to help you. And if it's one that I know you're going to struggle with, I'm not going to do it. So look at all of these and say, yes, I can do it. So this one is last year's, and it's the tulip. And then we did this one called Stellar Star. And this one uses that same diamond shape here and here. So let's go ahead and look at how to do those before our time gets away from us. Let's look at these. So let's bring our camera down to over here. And I really want you to learn the basics and then be able to build on them with the other things that we do. So notice how for the square options, which are options 1 through 17, we start out with a square in the middle, strips on the side. We trim appropriately to move those points and seam allowances where we need them to be. So here's the diamond in the middle with strips, just like the square. And we're going to take your same ruler, original or mini, and we're going to trim them up. So just like so you don't have to have another tool to do diamonds. Your same ruler works for everything, and I love that. So here we have the square with the 1/4 of an inch on all 4 corners. And here we have the diamond shape with the 1/4 of an inch on all 4 corners. So when you look at your ruler, you're going to have a 120 over here, and you can see that 1/4 of an inch. So see how it just goes right in that point like that, and it leaves that 1/4 of an inch. And then on the short side, go to the short side of the ruler, and see this is the mini, and look how big your piece is. It will trim all of these. You use your 60. And the 60 goes right in the point. See how those lines go right over the seam? Trim it up. There's your 4th. And then, of course, the 20 with the 4th. Now, when you do, we call this one Canadian geese, so it's like your flying geese. Remember, we left the 1/4 of an inch off of 2 opposite corners that we're not cutting through. So the 1/4 of an inch here, 1/4 of an inch here, that's with the 60. Now remember, we 2-stepped it and went right up to the tip here. And look at this one. It's an 1/8 of an inch. It's a 120 with the 1/8. So down over here on the bottom, all by itself, we have the 120 with the 1/8 of an inch. And of course, that's going to go in that corner and trim it up so that you have an 1/8. Now that's the perfect amount that you need. So when you come back and sew a 1/4 and a 1/4, your point will be right there exactly where it needs to be. So let's look at this. So when you use your tool and you just lay it up on here, if you want to check, see this 1/4 of an inch line? See this 1/4 of an inch line? Right there is where that seam's going to come together, and your point or the tip of that pink is right there. So let's look at how we would trim these. And hopefully you're getting the association of all of this. Okay, if you want to do Storm at Sea, you're going to do this option 7 shape. You're going to do the option 1 shape. And you're going to do the option 2 where you sew around it again. We looked at it over here on that pineapple quilt. So an option 1, an option 2, and an option 7 make your Storm at Sea. And last year, the video for that in Quilt Club Week was just phenomenal. Of the colors and the shapes and everything that you can do. Okay, so to trim it with the 1/4 of an inch everywhere, here's the 120, goes in the 120. You line up your lines with your seams and your grid line through the middle, so it's just like the square. Do that to the opposite side, 120 with a 1/4. And then we're going to trim the 60 and we're going to do the 1/4. So just like that, no papers to peel, no grids to draw, just working with our fabric. Make sure you keep it square as you go around. And there's that option 7 shape, just like that. Now, if I want to do option 18 that we call Canadian geese, see, these are flying geese. They have the short wingspan here, and here's the long wingspan, so that's your Canadian geese. So what we need to do is we're going to leave the 1/4 of an inch on the 60, and we're going to do the 1/8 of an inch with the 120 on the side. So here's my 120 with the 1/8. Whoops, I got to get it all on the mat. Make sure it goes through the point. Now you can see here how my mini is just a little bit short on that end. So you would probably want the Grand, the original. So here's an example where when you get that long edge on it. Okay, so here's the original. Here's my 120 with the 1/4. And so I'm just making it a little bit skinnier. I'm taking 1/8 of an inch off right there, just 1/8 of an inch. And this moves the points and the seam allowances so that you'll have perfect points and perfect sizing for the project you're working on. And Storm at Sea is one of them. So it looks like this, and then we're just going to cut right through those points. I like to use my lines to make sure everything is staying square. And looky there, there's just like that. So look, if you want to do a border like this, look how beautiful, how simple it is to do a border if you want. Or you can do a border like this. And there's a quilt that we called Abby's Wedding Quilt, where we've used this for sashing in between the blocks, and it's just exquisite. Looks difficult, but as you can see, it's easy to do. Now look what happens when you do one up, one down. One up, one down. You get this beautiful ribbon effect going on. And then, of course, my favorite, stars. If you want stars, this is what I call points going out. And of course, you'd have something in the corners and something in the center. There's your star. Let's look up here at this one. You can see here is your black star. So your points are going out, and you have plain squares in the corner and all these little 4 patches, 16 patch in the center. Now this one is where the points are going in. So let's look down here at our board, and let's switch these and make these go in. So all I'm going to do is switch them, and there you have a 4-pointed star. Put something in the corners, something in the middle. There you go. So right here, I just showed you how to make this beautiful quilt here, just like this. And look at the edges for the borders. I think that's really pretty for the border. Okay, do we have some questions?
How about cutting the diamond?
Cutting the diamond.
Before you start these options,
Yeah,
7s and 18s.
I'm not prepared to cut the diamond today. I don't have my samples here with me to do it. You can go back and look if you're not a premium club or a quilt club week. If you're quilt club week, I want you to go back in and watch this. This is so detailed on the diamond. I really, really love it, and I always point everybody to this quilt. I guess you could a la carte just that one too. Just email Steve, and it's postage stamp star, and he can get it to you. It's really the best one that we have. And then,
And
but
then
you can
using the original ruler to cut the diamond as well.
Yes.
The grande and the original.
Grande and original. And you can also go back to making that overview book. If you don't have Premium Club or Quilt Club Week, go back into YouTube, look at the option overview book that we did last year on our warm up to Quilt Club Week and the starting of our quilt season, and we go into detail with the diamond on that. It could be that in one of these classes that I'm doing on Tuesdays of our build up that we'll do that diamond shape, but I'm sorry I can't do that right on the spur of the moment today for you. Okay, let's look at, that one came down. Okay, so here is another one right here that shows the pineapple, and that one's in the Paradise fabric. And that one is a Quilt Club Week quilt. And let's look at this one here. This one here is one of your PDFs, and this one is called Double Star. And we mixed some of our vintage fabric with some of our Paradise fabric. This may be an idea of colors that you maybe want to put together for your fall semester class for some of you. All of these you can take any of these color combos that we're showing in any of the quilts and do them. I know that color is something that students work on a lot. I don't want to say struggle with it, but maybe need to build their confidence on or need a little bit more help with it, and we try to do as much of that as we can. And this one's called Double Star. So here you can see the flying geese right here that we make, option 3. And then here is a big option 1. We've used it as a setting square. And so pretty cool that an option 1 can be a part of a block, or it can be a block all by itself and do a wonderful job, because here you see, the reason why we call it Double Star is here you see the small star, and then you see the larger purple one going around it. So you get a double star with just the combination of it. So this one here is called Bride's Vase. It is one that Sherry and I are teaching during Quilt Club Week this year. And it's, you can see this vase part here is that option 18, the diamond cut in half. And then these are half square triangles. And then we do some really cool stuff with this little shape right here. It's a flying goose with the option 10 inside of it. And so it's really, once again, this one looks hard, but it's not hard to do at all with the system and learning the options. And that was one of your PDFs, one of your downloads, so that you could get information on it. Now, once again, look here. This is an option 1, and we did pink on 2 sides and purple on 2 sides and just stacked those up. And look at this beautiful border that you can make. And it's just option 1, just that simple and that easy to do. Let's move the camera back down this way. This one is called Turkey Tracks, and some of these we don't have quilted yet. This one is Turkey Tracks, and it is one that we're teaching during Quilt Club Week this year. Kay is doing this one, and before we teach the class, like I stated earlier, we do a little lecture and show you different colors and give you different things to think about, because even though it's a 2-color quilt, there's 3 ways that you can do it. You can do color in here for the Turkey Tracks, and this one is the green cobblestone. I love just this muted softness of the green cobblestone. So we used it for the Turkey Track, and we used it for the setting square. Now you can, and we just use the background here in the background of the block. Here are the flying geese borders, and we did that up, down, like I was talking about with the diamond, and it gets that little ribbon shape going around. Now the kits on this one and the snail's tail are for the, I'm going to say the full-size quilt like you see in the pattern. On this one and this one, we just did a few blocks so that we could have a sample of the colors and the kits so that you can see how they work and all go together. But think about if you did the background here and not the green, and these green ones just floating in that white background. That would be really pretty. And then also, what if you reversed it and did the green in here and did the white here and the white here or the green there. So we talk about those different combinations that you can get. So we'll let you look at that one just a little bit more. And in the kit, we have it in the green cobblestone. You can do it in the purple flower or the yellow flower, which are all really pretty and just a great quilt to have. I have only one granddaughter and 3 grandsons, so I always think about this one for her. And she's a pink girl, but she is kind of like in blue a little bit now. And so I always think about, oh, that would be a great quilt for her. All right, let's look down here at the far end on the other one. This one is the snail's tail. And like I said, in the sample of the snail's tails and the turkey tracks, we just did a few blocks so that you could get the idea of the interaction and the colors together. So snail's tail is a great one to make. It's not hard at all to do. We just do a 4 patch in the middle and we sew around it 2 times, which is like an option 2. And once again, just coordinating your colors to go in the right spot is the hardest thing about the quilt. Questions from anyone?
Oh, here's a question. Okay, let me, if I go to it, I can't see it. Searching for Firefly for a complete review. How do I know the order in which to watch these? I thought they were in Premium Club in order. There's some in Quilt Club Week of last year.
Yeah, there's, it's hard for me to tell you just one place to go because I don't know if you're just Quilt Club, if you're just individual or premium. In Premium Club, I guess it would be in the technique area, right?
I think it's in the technique area.
Yeah, so go to the module that has techniques and go to it. You'll see shortcut binding tool, you'll see settings, you'll see, you know, just where we, because lots of times, you know, like say that I was going to teach this diamond, cutting the diamond shape, you know, then it would be in the middle of all this video and how would you go and find it? So when we do a video that's just strictly that, grande ruler or firefly or whatever, we put that in the technique section so you can go and just hone right in on that and it's not in the middle or lost in a video like this. Yeah. So go to that technique section. On the Facebook group the other day, someone was looking for settings about how, putting a block on point. How do you sew them together? And how to do that. And just go to the technique section and look for the on point video and watch.
Remember, you should be able to put the word Firefly in and see.
Oh, and that's another thing with our new makeup of the website, the teaching website. There's a search bar up there, so just put in Firefly and it will send it to you, or put in shortcut binding tool,
and then
or
also look in Quilt Club week of
settings.
Last year, 23 and maybe even 22.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes like that Firefly video I did in the spring, I think of last year of 23. And so after we did, it was a webinar like this, but I just strictly stuck with the Firefly of the teaching of it. And so when we were done with it, when we videoed that for the masses in a webinar like today, then Steve went and put it in the different areas of that, okay, of the website. All right. Okay, this one behind me here is called Gold Rush, and this is one that we're teaching during Quilt Club Week this year. And this is one that Kathy actually quilted on her domestic home machine. Let's see, let me stand over here. Maybe you can get a little bit. Well, no, I guess this one is the best. Okay. I just felt like I was leaving the picture too much. Okay, so this one is Gold Rush, and this is this wonderful block here. We use option 11 and half square triangles, flying geese, option 3 and 4. Once again, it looks complicated, but with the system, it's really easy to do. And Kathy, this is the one that we show you how to make the block, but she's going to show you how to do the quilting. And so on this one, since it has applique in it, it's like it makes the quilting a little bit different. How do I handle the quilting when there's applique in the block? So I actually sent it to her where I had 2 of the applique blocks already done and in the quilt, and then that left 2 open spots over here. And so she showed how to do the quilting when you already have the applique on it, and how to do the quilting when you don't have the applique on it, and the pros and cons of how do I decide what I want to do. So I'm really excited about her video on this one, and the machine quilting just on your tabletop. Now, she's taught machine quilting in every Quilt Club week, so if you're in that Quilt Club week section, go in there and look for Kathy's machine quilting classes. She's got all kinds of different quilts that she's done, and she hones in on certain things, whether it's a quilt and what that quilt needs. In some of the classes, she just takes a certain technique and shows you how to do that, or how to do that, or how to do that, just individually, not with it in a quilt that's, you know, already put together like this. So this one's Gold Rush, and we do have kits for it. It's a beautiful quilt. Don't be scared of it. I've made it 3 or 4 times, so it's pretty quick and easy to do. Okay, now last week in our Tuesday class and this week I've shown you the new quilts that we're teaching, some of them, and some of the projects, and then today I'm showing you some of the older ones, and those 2 Premium Club quilts, the Grid Quilt and the Crossroad Quilt. And I won't be showing the big masses of quilts like this in the future videos. We'll hone in just on different teachings. So this one is called Midnight Orchid. It's really easy to do. We just do an option 1 in the middle and option 3 flying geese. We set it on point, and this is one that we'll be teaching. I don't know if it's a pre-Quilt Club class for that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or if it's in Quilt Club. I think it's a pre-class. And this one's called Midnight Orchid. We've got kits for it. And you can choose, when you go to choose your kit, you can choose either the black vine for your backing, or you can choose the orchid. Now there's a couple of kits, I think there's 3 or 4 kits that I've included the backing in, because it's actually cheaper for you to purchase that kit with that backing. So let's think about, let's just kind of do something here on the back of this piece of paper. I didn't know I was going to do this, but let's do it. So when you have a fabric that you want for your border, and it's a floral print or something really pretty, you know, you don't want a seam going through the middle of it, especially, you know, if your quilt's larger than that width of your fabric, your 40, 45 width. You don't want a seam in that and messes up that beautiful print or that floral fabric. So let's say that this is your, and this is the fold. So this is approximately 22 inches here. And of course, if your fabric was opened up, you'd have another 22 inches here, but it's underneath there. So when your fabric, LOF, is length of fabric. So when you're doing your border, you want to cut that border from the length of fabric so it's all one length. It's also for the weave of the fabric, the way that the fabric is woven together. This is a little bit more stable this way than this way. If you cut it in, I'm going to just say you're 40 inches and then try to piece it. So always try to cut your borders in the length of fabric if you can. So if you're cutting your borders, let's say that you, just for easy numbers, let's say that you need a, well, 10 inches really big. Let's say you need a 6-inch border. Most borders don't go bigger than that if it's a big print that you want to keep together. So if you have a 6-inch width and length of fabric here, then you have another one underneath that's 12 inches. Let's say your fabric is 42 inches wide. That gives you 30 inches of fabric left here. So you'd have 15 inches on this side going to the fold and 15 inches underneath. So this 30-inch width is great to use for the back of your fabric. So let's say that you need, let's say that you have like a 5-yard piece of fabric. A lot of the kits have a 5-yard for the back. So if you cut whatever you need over here for the back, you're going to have that 40 to 45 inches in width here. And then if you add this 30 inches over here, then that's going to give you 70 inches for your fabric plus, and most of the time this length of fabric here is the same that you're cutting here for your back. So this section here is long enough, plenty long, to go on this section. So the back of your quilt would have this big section here, and then this section would be here from your border. So you actually are purchasing less fabric doing it like this than if you purchased for the kit and I gave you length, and then you have to purchase another 4 to 6 yards for the back, and then you would have all of this extra leftover fabric. So there's a couple of kits where the border I don't want you to have to piece, and so we've actually packaged the kits with the back, and it actually helps save you money from having to buy that separate. So I hope that makes sense to you and that you understand what I'm saying. So it's a benefit to buy that, because think if you have to buy another, let's just say you have to buy another 5 yards and it's $10 a yard, that's another $50 when you could have just added it to that one, and it will save you anywhere from 1 to 3 yards. It'll save you anywhere from purchasing 1 yard of fabric to 3 yards of fabric. So I hope that makes sense, but it's really the best way to do that. Okay, so in this kit, think about that for your back. Now this one does not have a floral in the border except this, and it's not that wide, so you could piece it. But if you're getting the kit, then you're not going to have to do that. And same thing on this one. This one's called Trinity River Bridge. This one starts out with that diamond in the middle. We sew around it one time and trim it up. Then we sew around it again and trim it up. So it's like the option 2 with the square, but it's the option 2 with the diamond in it. So all of this is made just in the blink of an eye, and then you just do your sashings. So it's really very easy to do. So here you can see that length all in one, and then of course that's what we put on the back, so it actually helps save you money for your kit. Do you have a question? Nope. Okay. So like I said, we won't necessarily have these quilts back up on our Tuesday webinars to show in our future ones, because we're going to get more into the teaching and different techniques and different ideas to get you warmed up for Quilt Club Week. Now this one here is called Crown of Thorns, and it's one that we're teaching during Quilt Club Week. So you get a little bit of diamond teaching during Quilt Club Week with these quilts, and then of course you get your basic teaching with the snail's tails and your turkey tracks, so you can really get a good idea of the squares and the diamond and get some of that knowledge under your belt with Quilt Club Week.
What is the river quilt?
Trinity River Quilt, and it you can find this one in the Melee Women book.
Melee, okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then this one here is Crown of Thorns. And once again, I want you to look at the border in here. This is one of the option shapes. It starts out with that diamond in the middle. You get this extra flying goose in the middle with the big flying goose on the outside edge. So learning how to make the options and putting them in borders is really just so easy to do, and just really a great knowledge to have to add to your quilts, because lots of times we just put a strip on the side of a quilt and we call it done. We don't want to do any more piecing, but with the square and a square system, it makes it really easy to do. And in January, one of our semesters, probably about 4 years ago, we did borders, was our semester teaching. Like this semester coming up is settings in that one. So every week we took one of the options and we showed you how to figure sizes, how to use the charts, how to make a border with it, and then what it looked like. And we actually had 3 quilts or 3 projects in that semester that you could make with the skills and the knowledge that you have. And a lot of you, we've had a lot of new Premium Club members sign up over the last couple of weeks and days. And so, you know, if you're waiting, you know, or you need more, or you're just watching stuff, go in and look at those border classes, because we do the options in order and then show you the border. Question?
Can you applique after the quilt is quilted?
Yes, you can. And in that particular quilt, the Gold Rush, I had 2 blocks that were appliqued, and I sent it to her to quilt it. And so she had 2 empty blocks that she quilted, and one of those blocks you could see on the quilt, I went in and quilted one after the quilt was quilted so that you could see what it looks like.
Is
for
that easier
class.
to quilt that way?
They both have their pros and cons. If y- if you're if I don't know, they both have pros and cons on which way to go. Normally, you know, if you're hand quilting a quilt, then certainly do your applique and then go in and hand quilt the quilt. But a lot of people don't hand quilt anymore, they machine quilt. So that's something that Kathy talks about in the classes, are the pros and cons of doing it before you applique and after. Now, the bigger your quilt gets and the more applique there is, that would be something that I would say, I'm going to applique it, and then I'm just going to deal with the quilting of it with the applique already on it. So, all right, let's look at this one here. This one is called Pathway to the Stars, and this one is kitted with just the, it's not kitted with the back because it just didn't work out the way that I was talking about earlier. You're going to have to buy it separate anyway, so I didn't kit it with the back. But this fabric here is going to be gone really soon. It's called the Black Flaming Bud. So if you want this quilt or this kit or whatever, don't wait on it or on the Gold Rush, because we're getting down to the end. And I expect when Quilt Club Week is over and Premium Club is done and the fabric and the kits and everything are sold, that there won't be any of that left. So jump in there and get this kit or the Gold Rush kit, or just order your loose yardage of this one because it's going to be gone very, very soon. And that one we use the diamond shape again, so you can see in Quilt Club Week this year that you're getting a lot of diamond classes and a lot of information. And there's plenty of other stuff, so if you're not interested in the diamond, don't think, oh, I'm not going to do it because only thing that they're doing is diamonds. That's not true. I'm just saying that if you want to learn the diamonds, this is a great opportunity and a lot of different examples to go in and learn that. And I want you to, I'm going to hold it up here so that you can see, but I want you to take notice of the corners and how we did the borders. So that's one thing that we talked about in the border class, is that you don't have to piece the whole side, the whole top, bottom, you know, all 4 sides. You can just do something exciting in the corner, and that's all that your quilt needs. And it gives it just an extra pizzazz than just a plain strip border. You know, I always like to make my quilt, and then I always say let it talk to me about what it needs or wants. Sometimes it needs just a simple fabric and a simple strip border. Sometimes you can let the fabric do the work, and you can use the fabric as your border, and it makes a beautiful border because of the fabric. And then there are times when you piece the border to put on the quilt because the quilt needed just a little extra oomph to it. Now this one here is called Trip Around the Square. It's found in the main book, Book 1. I didn't have those out on my table today. This is probably one that we're going to talk about on the Tuesdays before Quilt Club Week as we ramp up for Quilt Club Week. It uses option 14. So this, look how big this option 14 is. So you can see that it's 2 triangles with 2 more triangles and a big triangle. That is an option 14. And we actually get 4 of those, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those with one option. So think how quickly your quilt will go together. You see all these individual pieces, and you think you have to sew all those half square triangles and then sew triangles on the side, and you don't have to. You're just going to be sewing a square with strips on it and moving around. And this one is called Trip Around the Square, kind of like a traditional trip around the world, but this one is Trip Around the Square. And of course you can just keep going out and going out, and the more you go out, the more squares you get going on in the middle. So it's really easy to change sizing. And this is a lot of our, this was called Vintage Shadow fabric. This was our last fabric collection we did This one was promoted in May, I think. And so you can go to the website and see all of those. There's a couple of them. Maybe it's just the tobacco that's sold out. This one right here that's on the border. But a lot of these vines in the reds and the golds, those are about gone. Like I said, when we finish with Quilt Club Week and the kits and everything, a lot of those will be gone. Okay. This one here is called Moonlight Star, and this is my, I call it my main quilt for Quilt Club Week, although I'm teaching lots of different ones. But this is one that we videoed, and so when we video it ahead of time and it's not alive, like I said earlier, it means that we really go in depth with it. And so that way we stick with it, don't get sidetracked with questions and everything like we do with a live program. So this one's really fun. It's your 4-patch in the middle. It's your flying geese for your star points. We do more flying geese for this crown shape going around, and little subtle Milky Way stars in your night sky. And then actually used the basic star for the border.
The trip around the square, are you teaching it?
Yes, I'll be doing it in one of the Tuesday lives before Quilt Club Week. Okay? All right. This one here is called
I think we got all the quilts numbers. Somebody wanted to know which one was on the right, which I think is that one.
This one is Moonlight Star, and it's one that will that I'll be teaching during Quilt Club Week. I don't know if I teach it all in one day or if we divided it up a little bit on each day. I'm not sure how it got, how long it was and how it got edited and produced on there. And this one I used the I can't remember, this one is the shadow, vintage shadow, and I don't know if it's called tan or yellow or orange. I can't remember, gold. I don't remember how it's listed on the website. This one is the dirt vine, which I really love that for a background.
What about the quilt that was over here that has orange, square, green points? Is that one? Let's see. Is it one of these?
That one had the Trinity, this one. Look, was it this one? This one's Trinity River Bridge, and it was over there on the corner.
Green points. I don't see green points.
Well, depending on her monitor and everything, it's that gold vine.
It wouldn't be this one.
Pathway to the Stars. Let's see if it was this one. We didn't show it very long, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'll bet this one. Pathway to the Stars.
This one is Pathway to the Stars, and it's got the black and the green points on it. And this one is in the Diamond book. Trinity's in the Melee book.
Were those in the download?
Yes, Pathway should be in your download.
There's a download link in the chat. Let me see if I can get another one.
Yeah, download link in the chat. Okay, let's move the camera over here to the Tis the Season and As the Crow Flies. Okay, so this one is As the Crow Flies, and it uses our star with our option 3 flying geese, a 4-patch, and then we just use half square triangles, flying geese, whatever triangle shape we need to make our birds. We had birds in that grid quilt that was hanging over here. It kind of got us all excited about birds. We had the flying bird in the grid, then we had the crow here in this one, and then in the one below it called Tis the Season, we have the cardinal. So if you order Tis the Season or cardinal, they're all going to come together in one little packet. And this one is the fabrics and everything, size and everything like you see for the kit. Sherry, one of our teachers and one of our Premium Club helpers, she loved this quilt so much she just finished up the second one. She's made one and then the other. And then this is Sherry's quilt, one that she made. So your kit is for this size, but this is not the fabric. Sherry made that one just from her stash. And I will show you the fabrics we have. So let's look down here at the table, Steve, please. So this one here is the fabrics that you'll have, and we've just used flying geese for our bird and some half square triangles, some little flying geese for the head, and we just made a small sample of it, but your kits are for the bigger sizes that you have. So I really really implore you and encourage you to come in and be a part, join Premium Club, join Quilt Club Week, and when you're done, if you want to jump over to Premium Club, you can do that, because I really do believe that most any quilter can make most any quilt, and it doesn't matter the angle or the triangle unit, it doesn't matter the size, it doesn't matter what your skill level is. Are you a novice? Are you a beginner? Have you been quilting forever? It really doesn't matter. When you learn the skills that we teach, then you can master any project that you want to do. I always say that it stacks the deck in your favor, because no matter how precise you are, you're still human. You still have a human element in the cutting, the sewing, and the pressing. And so if you can do all of that work in the square and square form and then do your trimming, then it helps to make it perfect. And in our classes, we go in depth into how to even look at your work when you're doing the cutting of your options to make sure that it's going to turn out the way you want it. Because if you did have mistakes, depending on the level of your mistakes in that basic square or basic diamond, when you trim it up, you can actually improve on your work. And I love that, is that you can improve on your work after the human has done the work. And so we talk about how to get that sizing, how when you're doing your cutting to make an adjustment here and there, to add a thread bigger or two threads smaller, you know, however you need to do it, to know that when you get that piece cut up, is it going to go in your work the way that you want it to. So let's read a couple of these. This one says, I recently joined Premium Club and I have just gotten started with the videos. I'm really enjoying this series, and she did our pattern adapting last semester. She said, I've been watching your videos for several years and have purchased your rulers and books, and the only question I have is, why didn't I join Premium Club sooner? Like I said, that is kind of the key thing that runs through almost every text message and email that we get. This one says, I just want to thank you both for everything that you do to make Premium Club over the top. I encourage people to join. I tell them you can't afford not to join. Prior to joining your team, I wasn't finishing my quilts, and I didn't understand the science of patchwork and how it affected my work. The light bulb has come on during this last pattern adapting class, and I'm beginning to look at quilts and figure out what they are composed of. Your teaching is superb, and I love how you explain everything in detail. I'm using the leader and ender as you have taught, and I no longer have machine mess-ups at the beginning or the finishing of my work. I love, love, love your fabrics and create the fabrics you create and the whole program. I watch the videos over and over again, and that's the cool thing about having an online class instead of an in-person class, is that you get to go back in and watch it over and over again. If you go to an in-person class, then when that class is over, you know, it disappears. That's it. But when we teach online, you're able to go back in and watch over and over. And with our quilt text hotline, the 817-713-2879, you have me, the teacher, right there at your fingertips. You can send me a picture of your work. You can say, hey, you know, what am I doing? How can I improve on this? I'm not happy with this little point or whatever. What did I do? And so your teacher is right there to see your work. I can make a video and send it back to you. And the cool thing about that is that we're doing it on your time schedule. We're doing it when you have the time and interest to do your work, not because the in-person class is Monday the 12th at 2 o'clock and you got to be there and you got to be at your best and you've got to feel good, and you know, there's all kinds of things that happen in that live class that can prevent you from having the best of you and the best of your teacher. So to me, the online teaching is the best that I can do. We've had a lot of people order, put put their quilts in quilt shows and in county fairs and stuff, and they're winning great ribbons. And I always love it when they send me a picture. One lady made the Transcontinental Railroad quilt, which is one of our semesters and one of our fabric lines, and she got awarded Best of Show. And she was so excited about that. I've even had people get their quilts appraised, and they're amazed that, you know, their appraisals come in at $2,800 and so on. And so that's really exciting to see that happens. This one says, thank you, Steve and Jody, for all your help and your awesome classes. I have learned more in the last 3 years of being in your premium club than I did in the 30 years previous to that of my quilting. That is a thread that runs through a lot of the messages. So I think it's nice when you can get reviews and see about all that. So, you know, lots and lots of other ones, but I think you get the idea. Not going to take the time to read those. So we're going to finish up here in just a couple of moments. I want to show you one more quilt. So if you have any questions on anything, get that in. Remember that if we're already gone and you have a question, we have that quilt text line for technique, help, or an email. So, you know, if you have a question, get it to us. That's what we do. You know, sometimes people will say in an email or a text message, oh, I'm sorry to bother you, but can you help? You know, I'm like, you know, you're not bothering us. This is what we do, is we teach, we help. This is our life. So we're happy for you to ask us and for us to be able to help. So do we have last minute questions coming in? Okay, let's look down here at this one. I love, love, love this little quilt. So simple and easy to do. It's just pretty brainless. We're going to teach this during some of our Tuesdays and our work up to Quilt Club week. So this one here, you can see just the little star. We've shown the flying geese and the stars, and you just put something in the corners and in the middle, just real simple, but look how gorgeous it is. I can't wait to get this on my fall table in the house. I have an old breakfast table with the claw feet on it, and I always put a quilt on it to protect it, and I can't wait for this one to get on the table. So the star block, and they just repeat, and then we have what I call the soldier block. And the reason why I call it the soldier block is because during the Civil War, this was a very common block that people made. They would put it together, the block, and then instead of the star have a solid piece. They could make a quilt up really, really quick, and that was the quilt that the soldier took off to war with. It was his sleeping bag, and for many of them, unfortunately, it was their burial cloth too. And so that's called the soldier comfort quilt, and this is the soldier comfort block. And so we don't teach this as you make 4 rectangles and 4 squares and then a big square. We teach it in a strip piecing method, and so it goes really fast and really accurate, easy to cut and sew and put together. And this one we call Pumpkin Stars, and this is a kit that we have. This is some of our vintage fabric. This is the orange bow tie, the black stick, and this is the fuzzy leaf, and I don't know if it says tan or yellow or dirt on the website, but this is the
yellow.
This is the fuzzy leaf, and it's just got that faint little yellow to it. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous background. We've used it in a lot of things. It was in that pineapple quilt that we had up here on the very top also. So it works for a lot of different backgrounds and areas. So I think that's it. Go in and shop. Go in and shop our sale. A lot of that I showed at the beginning of the video is very limited. Make sure you get your kits and everything. If you know that's what you want to do, that way you don't miss out on them, because by the time Quilt Club week starts, some of this could be gone, and I don't want you sad that you wanted to make it just like that. Yes?
I have a question about Premium Club in the upcoming fall semester.
Okay.
On the 12 blocks. Is it
12 blocks?
8-pointed star and...
Okay, Premium Club 12 blocks.
To start their center?
Oh, okay. All right. So yesterday we did a get started video for Premium Club. Our class is going to be settings, and I gave them a star block to make. It's a 6-inch sewn, 6.5 cut. Make 12 of them, and those you can either use as your sample for the lessons on our very first class, and you can also use them We're going to use 3 in each corner if you're making the overall
Now,
quilt.
there was 2 downloads we had.
Yes, you had the star download or the churn dash, and I have them right here.
Are you doing 12 of each, or just
Well, let me,
12 total, or what?
yeah, let me tell you.
I know it's a premium question.
Yeah, it's a premium club question. So if you want to put the camera down here on there. So I gave them the pattern or the PDF download for the churn dash and for the evening star. I'm using stars in my first class, and so I made 12 of them. So you'll need 6-inch blocks for the whole semester. So if you want to make 12 evening star and 12 churn dash, you won't go wrong with that. But you can also wait for each class and make that decision.
Yep.
But either of these, all of these will work. You won't go, if you make all 12 of evening star and 12 of churn dash, you won't go wrong. But be sure to make 12 of one of them so that you'll be ready for class on the first one. Okay, another question?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, I'm thinking that as I move on in that quilt that I'm going to be using the stars and the churn dashes in them. Those are 2 just really great blocks. You can also use any leftovers that you had from spring semester if you had any. It's a great way to use those up. All right, any other last minute questions on anything? So we will see you Tuesday next week for a live webinar for quilt season, which means we're building up to Quilt Club Week. And then for Premium Club members, we'll see you in 2 weeks on Monday. And we will go back to our regular scheduled time of 11 o'clock for all of those. We had to do things a little bit different last week and this week because summer and fall were overlapping. We needed to start, but we didn't have those time slots. So, all right, anything else? Okay, become the piecer that you've always dreamed about being. Come and join us for some fun, some excitement, some motivation, and you're going to up your game and improve on your skills and your knowledge. And like I always say, become the piecer you've always dreamed of. We'll see you